Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Mario, where we bring real raw truth to men's work. And today I have a special guest. His name is Zack Pavel. Is that his name?
Pavel.
Pavel. And man, this guy is a beast at the gym. And that's how I met him actually, from sandbags and connecting from Freedom Strength. And then it just became something that I know he was a SD native. I didn't know his story about recovery and everything like that. And yeah, I'm just grateful to have my first in-person interview. It's really cool. We're in Carlsbad, San Diego right now. You take the trip down here, man. I'm really grateful you came here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother. Always good to be with you. Yeah, I think, it's interesting when you and I met. This was before your landmine competition, and I wasn't competing in it, but I was doing the sandbag stuff and trying to make my mark a little bit, chasing 300 pounds, and which I got eventually. But I remember I was not feeling it the day that we met up, and I wanted to stop like balking on it, but I was having some issues just with my energy and my health a little bit, and I was going through some relationship issue with my relationship. So you like, and immediately I think you could tell what was up, and I was
Mhm.
like, I just couldn't get it rolling, and I wasn't even planning on it. I was like trying not to just um, kind of dump everything that I was dealing with on you, but I kind of slowly started to like give you little hints as to what was going on. And then we kind of like, you were into this gnarly workout, but you took the time to kind of stop and like ask me and be like, oh, hey, like I've
Mhm.
like related to what I was talking about, and kind of let me held some space for me
Yeah.
on day one where we met. And I think I hung around for maybe like 30 minutes before I
Yeah.
had to leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
We met up again down the line a couple times, but super appreciate that about
Yeah,
you. You
bro.
know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Um,
want to keep, I want this to be like a regular conversation with Zach and me, just because what we're gonna talk is kind of real and vulnerable, and like not everyone has the balls to talk about this stuff.
mhm.
And yeah, I feel like when you met me, and you were telling me you were going through all that stuff, I'm like, man, like how important is it for a man to just kind of like say it out there and like be heard and not just be like, well, dude, you gotta go do this and then you gotta do, and just like, no, like there's a lot of value of just listening.
Yeah.
And I think I've just kind of felt your heart just kind of feel heavy,
Hmm.
and I was just like, dude, this guy, he needs to let go emotionally.
Hmm.
But I know that like fitness is the thing that helps you fucking like
Yeah.
break through that
Yeah.
shit as well.
Get out of your
Yeah,
head.
but what would you say like to for all the people who are watching this, like what how would you introduce yourself? How would you tell people about yourself, like your coaching career,
Um,
just everything about
right.
you?
Yeah, so I grew up here in San Diego, down in Mission Hills, which is kind of a couple minutes outside of downtown. Um, Went to went to high school here. I played football and volleyball, which is kind of an
Mm-hmm.
interesting combo, not uncommon in Southern California. But played football D3 up at Cal Lutheran for a couple years. And then I got certified as just covering the fitness stuff right now. I got certified as a personal trainer my senior year of college. And then I moved back down shortly after graduating and worked at a Gold's Gym for
Okay.
like 6 months.
Yeah.
Transferred over to I wasn't digging the
Bodybuilding
manage.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, well, all the departments there wasn't a lot of cohesion and like cooperation. Didn't it just was felt a little haywire. So then I went to a 24-hour fitness for about another 6 months, and I just quickly realized like the corporate gym setup was not for me. And you got to kind of cut your teeth a little bit and pay your
Yep.
dues. But
Mm-hmm.
luckily I found one of my buddies had a gym that he was working out of. So a lot of independent trainers were going there and just paying a set overhead, which wasn't all that bad. I was actually when I got in, I had the good fortune of paying like just session to session with this guy that owned a gym called at that time it was Combat Athlete Training Systems, and a guy named Steve Nave. He was a like 18-year Navy SEAL Team 5
Mm-hmm.
buds instructor, really gnarly dude, and super cool. Kind of gave me the okay to come in, and he taught me about he ran me through all the specifics with the Bulgarian bag.
Okay.
He actually spread the word in the US. He partnered up with Ivan Ivanov, the founder, the creator of the bag, and he was like an Olympic coach for the Bulgarian wrestling
Nice.
team. And so yeah, and sadly Steve passed away. I only knew him for not even like maybe 5 months, six
Hmm.
months, and he passed away. Pretty sad.
Yeah.
So his buddy, well, I should say my buddy, the guy that was kind of under him, Anthony Ramel, now owns a place called Center for Balance Training. So it kind of transitioned into this more, well, it was always functional fitness, but it was like the opposite of the gym that was housed on the bottom floor, which was World Gym, and now it's the gym.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it's
I
all
always pass that gym.
bodybuilding scene. So it's kind of the opposite upstairs. It's like kettlebells, bands, clubs, balls. You know, they have a squat rack and bench for people that really want to do that. But aside from that, it's a very dynamic open space. So it was a lot of fun. It allowed me to get really creative, and I actually really consider myself as transitioning into more of a movement coach because I mean, I've been doing yoga for 12 years and got Anthony, who I mentioned, really gave me the lowdown. And I actually paid him to coach me for a couple months solid on calisthenic stuff,
Nice.
whether it was handstand, parallel bars, doing human flags,
Yeah, yeah. That's cool.
um, stuff like that.
How long have you been coaching?
About 15 years.
15
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
37, man. I'm gonna be
37. Yeah.
38.
And
Yeah.
I mean, you're aging good. And
I
I,
appreciate it.
so when did you create your own gym? Because I know when I went to go visit and worked out with you,
Right.
you had that
Right.
own spot. When was
Yeah.
that transition when you got out of the box
So
commercial gyms?
yeah, so that was just a couple of years ago.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
that was just a couple of
Okay.
years ago. Yeah, because I lived in I actually moved to Salt Lake, and this was what 2019. So 2019 through 21, I was in Salt Lake. My sister had been out there, and
Hmm.
I hadn't lived anywhere else. And I was like, she's like, yeah, come out here. You know, I was like, all
Okay.
right, I want to go snowboard and get my days in. So I trained um, independently out there too. So yeah, when I got back, I was like, dude, I just don't want to deal with an overhead for one. For two, I just
Hmm.
want to like hand pick all the tools that I want and build something up. You
Yeah.
know, at a certain point, I feel like you're in the game so long, you're like, yeah, I'm on my
Your
own
own thing
little
for sure.
dojo, little
Hmm.
flow space, you know, and I don't have to commute anywhere,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, scheduling. So it's nice and fluid. And yeah, I love it.
I
Yeah,
mean, your
yeah,
setup's cool, man.
yeah,
And you got a variety in there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's freaking cool, man. Well, just to give my little update of like where I'm at with my coaching, because I'm 8 years in, on August 20th or something like that. And I started as a 9 round kickboxing coach, and I did that for a couple years. And then after, I went immediately independent because I wanted to build an online thing because I knew I wanted to go travel the world. This life that I'm currently living right now, like right now, we're recording this shit at someone else's home because I've been a nomad for almost 3 years, living off one fucking backpack with me and my girlfriend, staying in other people's homes, taking care of their homes, taking care of the pets. That's how we've been doing it for the past 3 years, and I knew I wanted to live this life, so that's why I was like, all right, I'm gonna go independent, and then I'm gonna go online, and that's when I think 4 years in is when I just took the fucking leap and I said I'm just gonna go online. But I think there's so much fucking beauty in like doing it in person though. I
Mm-hmm.
miss that piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually something I can't do right now because I'm traveling. But it's so cool to hear how long you've been doing it because I actually was curious. I didn't know you've been doing it for that long.
Yeah, my whole
Basically your
yeah,
whole life.
since college, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I've done.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well,
I also, side note, I got my master's degree in
oh
nutrition,
yeah, yeah.
master's in nutrition education in 20, well, that was 2014 through I graduated in like 2016. So yeah, long program through American University. So I saw so many people spinning their wheels and I'm like, didn't know how to, in an organized fashion, talk to them about their nutrition for
Yeah,
nourishing their body and fueling, like really seeing the food as like fuel and not just, I'm not against, you know, I realize there's a lot of, um, kind of whether it's familial or cultural connection to like the way that we
for
eat and we
sure.
dine and we have and we host things and
Hmm.
like but it's just there's a way to be mindful and align it with your health goals because whether you're trying to lose like you know I had a woman she needed to lose like probably 70 80 pounds, another
Yeah,
one you know is training but a 60-year-old woman is training for a full Ironman this year and come August so
you're helping one.
come October, excuse me.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, yeah. So
That's cool, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of what I do.
Yeah. So you've been a health
Yeah.
nut and then you decided to go all in nutrition, fitness. This is what you've been doing for a while. Well, let's get into the real talk,
Hmm.
why we came here of, you know, just overall this conversation because I didn't intend to have anyone on a podcast yet. And
Hmm.
I had opportunities to have some cool guys in here just like you, but I was just like, let me go. I was like striving to go 150 pods because I just wanted to get good. I just wanted to be speaking
You are
and like,
good.
speaking. Thank you, man. I wanted to ask questions. I wanted to share stories. I just want to be better at it. And then Zach was just like, dude, I'm down. And I'm like, all right, I don't see that there's no force in this. Let's just make it happen, man. But what's your story with addiction?
So I was giving it some thought, and it's kind of ironic that I was always a really active kid, whether it was like skateboarding or BMX or motocross. Well, I rode like enduro motorcycles down in Mexico, or surfing, or like I did all the action sports, and I grew up with a very tight knit crew of like there was like 8 of us, 10 of us. We all live within like a mile of each other in the
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood. So come like middle school, I think it was like eighth grade, one of my buddies was like smoking weed,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, all right, let me try that. I'm like, okay, cool. Like
So how old were you when you first smoked weed?
it was probably like 13,
Okay. Yeah,
14.
yeah.
Yeah. And then freshman year, I think it was kind of transitioning, maybe summer going into freshman year of
Yeah.
high school. We started, fishing for getting adults to buy us 40 ounces of malt liquor. And, but so the weird thing is like it pretty much stuck to weekends. It was like
Okay.
Fridays and Saturday nights. But I was like, I remember the moment. I could tell you where I was, who was right in front of me, what I was wearing when I first had that like heavy buzz fade come over me. And I was like, I felt like I could finally like breathe. Like I was like, oh my goodness, like this is like a spiritual experience for me, and I can finally like open up and connect with people.
Yeah.
When in reality, looking down this long road, like it separates you even more. It plays tricks on you,
It does.
and so
That was
so
weed and alcohol,
yeah.
right? That you mixed.
Well, yeah, yeah. Once I started drinking, I was more about the drinking, but I
Okay.
still
So you
I
lean
still
more
was a
to.
pretty big stoner for a solid like I'd say like freshman, sophomore, junior year, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was playing, at that time I was playing football, basketball, and volleyball.
So every
So it was
season.
like a weekend. I was a weekend warrior. I was a weekend, sort of binger. And as it progressed, I wasn't getting. I was kind of doing my job. Mom and dad are gonna hear this, maybe. I don't know. And I was sneaking
Sorry,
around. I
mom.
was shucking and jiving, trying to hide this stuff. I mean, I probably wasn't doing the best job of it, but anyhow, I was keeping my head above water, I guess. I wasn't the best student, to be honest. Like it was. I was probably distracting myself with like just thinking about when I can get my.
Uh,
So it's kind of
yeah.
weird. I mean, and all my friends, we were all pretty much in the same boat. We were all athletes, either two or even three sport athletes, and we partied hard on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And and my parents were they like to entertain a lot, so like we had a fair amount of alcohol in the
Yeah.
house, and I'm sure like I wasn't sneaking it that much at that age, but let's just fast forward. So like I'm just doing my thing, keeping my head above water, and then like junior year. I remember I basically got arrested for getting, and I was doing boxing too. I was
Yeah.
doing boxing a little bit, and basically, like junior year, I got arrested for getting a fight with this dude, and
Uh-huh.
he ended up not pressing charges,
You
and
guys are
like right,
drunk.
but it was just this drunk, yeah,
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 drunk
like it was just, yeah, it was just this out of control thing, and
at a party or just random.
well, I was actually like in a parking structure before this event,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, it was bad. I ended up getting caught, and it was this whole deal where, yeah, I got super lucky. I got super lucky. Like I kind of got out, it was a big like embarrassment to my family, and like,
Mm-hmm.
my parents were like, "What are you doing?
Yeah,
Like, what are
yeah.
you?"
So
And
you stayed a night in jail, or what was
no, no, no.
they
I got
just
like
locked?
cooped up. They were like, it was like the harbor police or something.
Oh,
It was like
okay.
in the Marriott, like downtown, whatever. And so anyways, so I kind of like buttoned it up after that, And another thing too that's worth mentioning that we can touch on maybe a little bit more later is that I was like kind of experiencing like a lot of like ADD. I couldn't pay attention, or like they didn't know if it was ADD or ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
But what it was that I was undiagnosed bipolar.
Oh,
And
okay.
at one point they put me on Wellbutrin, which is an antidepressant, and Adderall,
Yeah.
which is a synthetic amphetamine.
Yeah.
So if you're giving a kid that's prone to getting manic a synthetic amphetamine in
Yeah.
like pretty high doses, like weird things are gonna happen, you know? So
Yeah.
then I was just like
When did you get
really,
diagnosed? Like,
oh,
was that in high
I'm
school?
no, not till I was like 26.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
You didn't find out for
Yeah.
a
So
couple
we're
years.
talking about, yeah, 10 years prior. And so yeah, not to, I don't want to necessarily go on a entire drunkalog as we call it.
Yeah. Just your
But I
overall
ended
journey
up,
with
yeah,
it.
I ended up experiencing problems. I was getting in trouble at school a little bit, and kind of finally made it out, like did decently well. My GPA was shit. But my SAT and my ACT scores were really solid, and like admissions people are like, what's up with, or coaches who were recruiting me,
Mm-hmm.
because I did pretty my senior year I actually did really well. So between, now we're kind of bouncing back and forth, but on the fitness front, I was always working out. Like I started working out. My dad got us a home gym when I was like 12. And
Okay.
I would go into gyms when we were on vacation, like single digit age. So I was always around it. My dad was real fit. So like this whole time I'm like doing this, but the Adderall is keeping my appetite suppressed and I can't gain weight. I'm gaining maybe like 10 pounds a year. I started at linebacker my sophomore year at 155
Oh dang.
pounds varsity football. And then finally, between my junior and senior year, I got really serious. Like, I think I kind of like took a break, like a little breather from drinking. And I trained for like 9, 10 months super hard, put on like 20 pounds of muscle. I got up to like 190
Mm-hmm.
and was running like a 4.5 40, like had a good year and ended up being like, hey, I want to play football in college. I think it'd be fun,
Yeah.
No D1 schools were recruiting me, so I was like, just okay. D3 sounds good. I was also in a relationship, so I wanted to stay closer to her. She was in LA at USC, and so I wanted to stay a little closer and maintain that. So again, like I get to college and it's like there was no Greek system at our school, so it was like the sports teams, no fraternities, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the sports teams were kind of like where it was. So like football guys, like, and these guys got after it. Like we
Mm-hmm.
would get after it on the weekends. And even the coaches, like we'd have like a
And
meeting,
coaches would join you.
after. No, no, no. Like we would just be like thrashed when we'd have our little like Sunday powwow, and they were like, "What are you guys doing?" So
Yeah.
um, kind of, and I did really well. Like I got my shit together. I had like a 3.737 or 3.8 GPA my freshman year and was
Mm-hmm.
like on the dean's list,
Solid.
honoring my parents were like, oh, my dad specifically like, oh, you're really not dumb. Like, like, okay, that's a relief. And yeah, it was super sink or swim because it was not a pretty picture in high school. But anyhow, so first couple years of college, it's like, but at this point, like I'm drinking the blackout. Like
In college.
yeah.
That's when it
Like,
started
well,
getting
no,
crazier.
no. Like I admittedly, like I didn't want to like throw myself out of the bus too much, but like I'm like constantly like from the jump, like I'm drinking into like not a good state,
Yeah.
Like I'm just taking overkill, like the way that I imagine. Just put it this way: the way that I train, or if you see me train the stuff on Instagram or whatever, like it can get like pretty extreme. Like that's just the way how you do anything is how you do everything. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? I didn't realize like it wasn't
Yeah.
gonna. It had me in
Yeah.
its clutches, and it like wasn't gonna let me go every time. Like I was gonna get bit hard, and I kind of lucked out first couple of years, and then junior year, I decided that I didn't want to play football anymore. Just long story short, like had some
Hmm.
issues with the coaches and whatnot, and then it was really on me. Like
Yeah.
I was just being a little punk kid, you know, and not necessarily get my way. So I was like, all right, cool. Now like more time, I'll still go to class. I'll still like do what I'm supposed to do, but I'm gonna start partying more. And I went down. I studied abroad in Argentina because I was actually really good at Spanish. Like I
Oh
thrived in
yeah,
Spanish class. Yeah, so
that's cool.
I took it all through middle school to college. Took a couple years. They actually wanted me to like TA, but I was like, "Ah, I don't know, whatever. That sounds weird. I don't know how to do
Hmm.
that. But so I went down to Argentina, and bro, and at this point, like I'm like really turning it up with the drinking. Like and you know, I had yeah, I'm just trying to think about how much I want to throw myself into the bus. So I will, like going into my junior year, I was a mess because this is the one time when I was 20 years old, I did a cycle of steroids. Well,
Okay.
I did two cycles back to back. So I basically took it was Winstrol. It wasn't like Dianabol. If I took like the real bulking one, I would have weighed like 250 pounds, but I did like 12 weeks and I got up to like 228 was like at 20 years old. I was like, and I was working out at World Gym, the
Yeah.
gym, like, you know, whatever,
Yeah.
benching 400 pounds, squatting.
So
So
you
I don't
were
even know
road
what I,
raging,
well,
drinking,
so yeah,
steroids,
yeah,
testosterone high as shit.
yep. Yep, and I started dabbling with a little cocaine too,
Okay.
which was yeah, so that was that was another like sparking my unknown, my undiagnosed bipolar mania. Like I could, you know,
Yeah.
and then you can drink more if anyone
Yeah.
out there's ever done that.
Yeah.
Like
No.
you feel like you're sharpening your sword as you're moving through the night and
Man.
or whatever you're doing. So that was not good, and that kind of that was a real convenient going down to Argentina with the high super ideal exchange rate. You could get a lot for a little. So that was yeah, that was tough. That was like a and you know all the while I'm still working out. I belong to the nicest gym in the city. I'm working out 4 or 5
Very
days a
high
week.
functioning.
Yeah, I just well you know kind of at least putting on the show that you seemingly
That you're
are.
healthy.
Yeah, right. So yeah, and I actually ended up that was probably the only time I was like kind of significantly overweight. I was probably I don't know. I mean, I'd say I was probably almost like 20 pounds overweight. And for me, like that felt like I was like 50. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like I was like, dude,
Yeah.
dang, this is not good, dude. Like this is sloppy, you know. So anyhow, I get back, I squeak my way through school, finish, and then I come back down, and I had those training gigs, like I said, at Gold's Gym, 24 hour, and I'm living in PB, and
You're
I'm
turning it up
more
on there.
yeah, and like the culture out there is you're going out like
Yeah.
more often than not.
PB's known. For
Call
all
it
the
like
people who don't know San
yeah,
Diego,
Pacific
that's the
Beach.
first thing people told me when I went to go to PB. Oh, that's the party area.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh
party.
yeah.
And I try to avoid that
It's
area.
like all the recent college grads or people that are still in school or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like the
So let me ask you this because I want to get into because I wanted to everyone to know who Zach is in your storyline. But like now we fast forward 26, you've been basically functioning, staying your head above water, obviously having some crazy fucking
yeah,
moments,
yeah,
and but now as your adulthood now, like where are you
yeah,
currently with all these things?
yeah. So well, it might be it might be a little necessary to mention what started
Yeah.
just cascading after that PB
Yeah.
stint. So I got kind of a run of the mill DUI.
Dang.
Yeah, so like, but kind of a slap on the wrist, like it was through a checkpoint. I like tried to play it off, and the cop's like, "Nah, like pull over your," you know. And so so then like 13 months later, I end up getting another one, and this one was a felony because it involved an accident
Oh, damn.
with a motorcyclist, which is technically great bodily injury, so they consider it like a really serious felony, almost like a violent felony. So I was looking at 4 to 6 years in prison.
Fuck.
Ended up I was advised by an attorney to go up to this place called the Freedom Ranch up in Campo,
Mm-hmm.
like yeah up there, and it's so this is April of 2013. And so I'm up there. He's like, "Hey, you got to go up there and get these alternative sentencing credits, so it looks good to the DA that you're like making an effort to like." And this was a recovery oriented, like 12-step deal. And so, just as a major disclaimer, like anything I mention about 12-step is strictly my opinion and my experience. In no way am I like promoting that, trying to entice other people to join, or
Yeah.
their, you know,
This isn't a
the like,
sponsorship.
yeah, this is not a marketing ploy. So I'm up at this place from April, May, June. It's like 105 degrees out there, bro. They just have this weight pile, and I'm like, dude, just was sloppy, like
Hmm.
whatever, dumbbells, barbells. You can't do cardio. I had my mother bring me a boxing suit of weight loss, a
Hmm.
sweatsuit. I'm like doing jumping jacks, the beanie on, and like 105-degree heat, and so they kind of lightly introduce us to 12 step. And it's a rowdy, crazy crew full of ex-cons and just whatever. Most of the people are kind of like, not paying attention. So then I don't know if I'm going to prison or jail or what's going on. I'm like about to run away to Mexico. So then I find out that the attorney got a deal where it's going to be 1 year in county with 5 years probation.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, like it is what it is. I have no say in it. I have
Yeah.
zero say, but I'm like, okay, sounds a lot better. So I go in there, and I'm like, cool. So obviously this is like the one definitive hiatus I had from training. I was
Yeah.
so I get in there, and I don't know how much you want me to go into this story, but basically, like, I show up in there, and they're like, man, that steel gate clanks behind you, and you're like, bro, like, I'm in, like, your blood temperature, your blood kind of goes down, and you're like, all right, dude, because I've been told by all the dudes at the other place I just mentioned, like, all right, bro, like, keep, don't let them think you're like kind of wincing or scared, or you're unsure. You're like, nah, dude, like, be who you are, like, stand, and so I show up, and I, like, it's all segregated too, which is pretty, it sounds crazy, but it's like necessary for there to be like order in this.
Hmm.
So it's like I walk into this unit, George Bailey's like the maximum security jail down in East County kind of thing, by the border actually. But I walk in there, so I got to hang with the white dudes, and they're like,
Yep.
oh, yep. And they're like, hey, yeah, we don't really like, don't be hanging around with the brothers, the black dudes. We can talk to the Southsiders, the Mexicans, and then the Paisas, or the
Yeah.
national Mexicans. So I mean, I could speak Spanish to them, but then the others are like the Asians and Islanders, etc.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so I get in there. Oh, we got to check your release date, or we got to check your charge. And I'm like, why are you gonna check my charge? And they're like, thinking maybe, oh, they have like assault on like a elderly person, or which actually was the case with someone else. So they were like, check your release date, and I had and they had been, they were gonna push me out with half, so I was gonna do 6 months, which I'm
Mm.
like, oh my god, like thank God, but like still, like you're in
Yeah.
there for so I'm in there, and so it fitness is actually one of the main things you're looking forward to and engaging in jail. Like
Yeah.
you get out to the yard, and it's just a simple pull up bar and a dip bar,
Yeah.
and that's it. And I was like kind of doing yoga in my be doing yoga in my little like whitey tighty like underwear that they give you. And they're just like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Yo." They're like, "Oh, really? Does that really work?" And I'm like, "Bro, I'm in there.
You're
I'm pretty
jacked.
jacked." I'm like in there. I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." Yes, I'm just doing my deal.
don't
So people,
don't check
well,
me.
people started kind of like following me, like they kind of realized, like, oh, dude, he's like one of the fitter people in here, like whatever. And I mean, I was in there. There were people that had been there for like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
year, you know what I mean? And you're basically just looking forward to your meals, eating. Like the first morning, we going to wake you up at like 2 a.m. and there's these dudes just beating the shit out of each other. And this like my first like day there, like the dudes are just going at it, and no one's even like it's just a thing. Like they're just doing that, and
Yeah.
there were like race riots, and they
Did
got
you
their
get in any
like.
scraps?
I
You
did
stay
not.
clean?
I avoided. Well, yeah, because I avoided it. I super avoided it. I mean, I kind of had this like when I get like aggressive, and again, I'm like undiagnosed bipolar, so like when I'm
You see red.
getting kind of psychotic, yeah, if like I see any sort of threat or someone's chirping at me, I'm just like, bro, like I'm the last person you want to come at sideways. Like I almost got into it with this black dude who, and that's like a big deal, right? Like if you're gonna start like a basically like a race war fight, like you're that's sketchy, dude. So
Yeah.
luckily I like I kind of got into it with this one dude, and like everyone's looking around, like, are we about to put on our? Because you had like Velcro chucks, like otherwise you were in little slippers,
Hmm.
and you're like if you were gonna like get down, like people would throw on their chucks. Anyways, I'm kind of making it sound like it was like hectic 24/7. It really is just like a pathetic existence. Like
Hmm.
you're literally watching the clock, and I swear to God, the clock was going backwards. Like sometimes I'm just like, what? Like, and there's so basically yeah, I'm working out all the time, I'm getting super fit, da da da. And we make like water bags out of like we take so I got a job in the kitchen, which is like a big deal. That's like the job you want. And so we'd steal heavy duty trash bags and we'd fill them with water. And then we'd get the shirt, we'd rip a strip off the bed sheet and we'd tie the shirt off. So it was almost like a water bell, like
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
use the sleeves and
Fire
like, bro,
resistant.
we got that up to like probably like 70 pounds, like a
Yeah.
lot, you know what I mean? So and they'd catch you weren't allowed to work out in the dorm, and they'd like catch me, put the bag down, bro. I'm just like, okay. Like, anyways, so I don't want to go on too much about
The jail life.
about the jail life. I mean, hey,
Before
I mean, but I will
it's
say,
important.
like I told you, like when I mentioned it to you, like, dude, in terms of a mindset and like, because, dude, I'm running on maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep every night. I'm just drinking like copious amounts of coffee. Like they're feeding you this stuff that's like it's hardly even real food. Maybe the eggs are like real kind of like it's not good. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so I'm like working out there's in the dark, like you're not listening to music. There's no so like you got everything. I had everything working against me to just sit around and do nothing, throw my hands up. But I wanted to do everything differently than everyone around me. So I got in trouble for having too many books. They're like, but what is this whole thing? I got like 20 something. I'm like, you gotta share them or something. I'm like, all right, whatever. Well, yeah, it was weird. But anyhow, so I just you're treated like an animal in there. So I just played the game. I'm like, okay, so that's just like what I'll be. Like I'm just gonna go hard. And even
Hmm.
people would be like, God damn, white boy, like how do you do this shit every day? And I'm like, I have to. Like, I just, I think at one point I was like, oh, because, my higher power. Like, I really did. And I like verbatim, like that came out of my mouth one time. And I didn't, they're like, oh, okay, whatever. So I
Yeah.
don't know, dude. I was just kind of this crazy character in there. And my point is, it just instilled like a lot of grit and just discipline. Like, yeah, I never missed. Like I just never missed.
Yeah.
It was every day. And it
Yeah.
was like, you were on like high alert. So you had this constant cortisol and stress and you're like on guard, your head's on a swivel, dude. And you're like, you know, yeah, not the place to be. So anyhow, so I get out, right? And so this is sorry, I'm trying to get my timing right on this. So 2015. So I get out and I'm like also because I was so cooped up, I'm like, when I get out, I'm never gonna stop moving. I'm gonna be running, biking, and like that's what I did. Like I was
Hmm.
just attacking. Um uh I did a triathlon. Um I got fourth, which I was really pissed about because he missed the podium by one spot. But yeah, I mean, I was just and also so I'm sober this time, including jail. And so when I get out, I I've been sober for most of the last what is that, 12 years?
Hmm.
11, 12 years. Yeah. So that is to say, in a nutshell, it hasn't been a perfect streak.
Yeah. Life happens.
But yeah, but I haven't you know, when you get a felony DUI and go to jail, it kind of feels like you burn your life to the ground. So
Yeah.
so I kind of, I like rose up kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
from that and I was like, hey, like I'm gonna do, and so I got into 12 step programming, which is really like for me, I mean, people think it's like a class or something that you go to and then eventually you like graduate or something, or it's like self-help. And it's really like it's self-development. And like, I
Hmm.
guess the distinction between self-help and self-development for me is like self-development is like requires like consistent action. Like instead of just a self-help deal, if you're like, sometimes it's just like, it is more like a class. Like you're just inputting, you're receiving information and you're hoping that that's going to have this magical,
Brainwashed.
transformative
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, so this is, and what it boils down to also is there's just a really good like fellowship within it and like a high level of accountability.
Yeah.
And if you're not around,
Yeah.
like people will hit you up. Like, what's up?
Absolutely.
Hey, bro, you
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right? You good? Yeah, man. Yeah, no, oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you I'm going to this, whatever family
Hmm.
dinner thing,
Yeah.
whatever. But it's like, yeah, I hit it pretty heavy. I mean, it's like
Yeah. Aren't you? Don't you go every day
it's
right now?
pretty much a daily thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty much a daily thing. So that's you know, and that's just what I've found is necessary. It's like just like I do with coaching people. Like I give my clients structure and like
Yeah.
assignments and like things that like you're building the foundation, you're laying the bricks, and once that's in place, we don't move that, and then we have it,
Brick
and
by brick.
you get that habit perfect for a couple weeks or a month, and then we put the next thing and like build in this whole life that you know people want to I think people it's like the cliche thing like oh like people everyone's like just basically insinuating that like getting physically fit just like makes your life better, makes you a
Hmm.
better person. It's like, well, I don't know about I'm not even gonna necessarily weigh in on that. All I am gonna say is that it definitely conditions your mind to deal with stress and
And hardship.
discomfort. Yeah, and
Hmm.
people call it like, oh, pain. Like there was a guy actually he commented on my post with squatting like the 295 bag, however many times, 6 or 7 times. And which was hard, like right, like really hard.
Hmm.
But and he's like, "Oh man, your pain tolerance is insane." And I'm like, "Dude, I don't think about it as pain. Like if you're experiencing pain, you're injured. You have
Yeah.
an injury for
Yeah.
real. Like it's just discomfort, but I just embrace that whole energy of what's required, and especially like taking the sandbag for an example, the neural drive and everything, like the way my core has been developed. Yeah, I was like kind of thinking the other day, I'm like, dude, I'm like a thick boy now. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I got muscles like where I didn't even know that they could be developed, and I'm kind of a little heavier than I'd like to be, but I realize like I just built that out. But the point is it's just like a total systemic. It's kind of the same thing
Yeah.
with kettlebells.
Same
Like
thing.
kettlebells, you better be, you can't half ass it. You can't half measure these tools.
Yeah.